there was a reason we were only given what we were given. There was a
Mm.
reason we were giving piece to piece. It's because that's what you were ready to expand into. That was ready. And
Hello, 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 and welcome to 52 Weeks of Flow, the podcast that delves into the depth of human potential and the transformative power of flow. On this show, we talk about peak performance, flow, energy, and bridge the gap between science and woo-woo. Through authentic stories and real-life examples, my guests and I will help you dive into your superpowers and create your next level of success. My name is Bea-Marie, neuroscience geek, flow enthusiast, and your guide to rewilding yourself. I'm on a mission to raise the frequency of the planet by supporting you to untame yourself and step into your flow. Hello, everybody, and welcome to 52 Weeks of Flow. You have already heard my beautiful guest, and something that she said just made you come back and listen to the full episode. So I want to introduce her properly, but I think that she can just do that best. So welcome to the stage, my beautiful guest, Jeanine Hauck.
oh, thank you for the beautiful, beautiful lead up. I am Jeanine Hauck. I'm an energy empowerment coach. I'm a mom, a wife. I have 3 little ones. There's so many pieces of me than just what I do, but what I do is what I love. I love supporting women, helping them bust through their blocks. Now, a lot of the blocks that we have are things that we can't even see. So it almost feels like an unfair fight. And one of the things that I love to do that's just so juicy and lights me up is to be able to see those energetic and those subconscious blocks, those blocks that have been manipulating or feels like they have been sabotaging the beautiful world that you're creating so that you can build that extraordinary life that you didn't even feel like you could dream of, maybe, or that life that's been in your secret heart that you've been like, oh, wouldn't this be nice? But you haven't been all the way in because for some reason, something's been holding you back. That is where I love to play. So that's a little bit about me.
I love this so much. And I love your passion. So everybody who's watching this on YouTube right now, I bet you could see just the little lights flickering up in her eyes when she was talking about it. And that brings me actually to my first question, because you're talking about blocks.
Mhm.
So when was it for you that you discovered like your blocks? How did you overcome your blocks? And yeah.
Oh, these are big things. These are big things. You know what? I think sometimes we don't even realize we have big blocks or what they are until you've passed through them. So the one that always I'm so glad that I had in my life that I can always look back and like, oh wow, isn't it interesting that I believed that was the life for me? When I was 17, graduating high school, I had my whole life planned for me. Like it was done. This was the vision. I was going to be a farmer's wife. And like, stop. That was
Okay.
it. Full stop. I was going to be a farmer's wife. And the interesting thing is, looking back, I didn't even let myself be the farmer. I put myself as a sidekick in the vision.
Wow. Okay.
Isn't that funny? And like, I grew up on a farm, so I have such a passion for like farming and like how they grow food for the community. That's so good. Like there's just so many beautiful things about it. And so when I went to high school, I made sure I took welding, I took automotives, I took hairdressing. Like I took trades, and trades was what was valued in my family as well. That was kind of, this is what's valued. And so looking back, I just like, wow, that is what I've set out to. And now the version of who I am today wouldn't even recognize that.
Mm. So when was the turning point? When was the point where you're like, I actually don't want to be a farmer's wife?
You know what? The universe had bigger plans for me. And what happened is I met my husband, and he was a farm kid, but it did not light him up. And I fell in love with his heart, not with what he did. So
Oh,
that's where the universe knows better for you than you know for yourself.
oh,
And
wow. So
yeah.
you met the farmer without the heart for the farm.
Yes. Yes. He grew up a farm boy, all of that. And he's just like, this is not for me. And he was clear on that. And for me, I am so grateful at that point that I'm like, I really connected with people because of their heart and not because of like what was on the outside, what they looked like, what their passions were, things like that. It was really about like what their heart was. And he happened to be this kind, nurturing soul. And so that's what I fell in love with. And so it's just breadcrumbs from there where we got married. We had our first daughter. And when we had our first daughter, it was around the same time that there was the opportunity to take a class, How to Connect with Your Angels. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I'm like, that stuff always interested me. And it also felt like that was something people were like born with, they were aware of, they were this special gifts, and they were kind of on this um, higher statue in my life of like, oh, that's what they can do, but how cool. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take this class. And in that class, things began to open up, not so much in the way of, I'm going to speak to angels and this is my purpose. And I love that stuff, but opened up to the world of energy and like how important that is. But also as simple as I realized in that class, and it was so crucial that I paid to be a part of it, and that it was $400. And at that point, that was like holy serious money. Where I was at that point, that was holy serious money. And so I realized a lot of times what would happen is I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to feel stupid in a class like that and say something that like would make me just look ridiculous. And because I paid that $400, I was like, no, I'm going to get everything I can out of this. And I raised my hand and I started asking question after question after question. And I realized everybody around me, it was echoing. They were like, oh, I didn't want to say this. I'm so glad you did. Oh, I like it was doing things for them as well. And so looking back, I was like, okay, there were breadcrumbs early on where it's like, hey, I get to go first, even though it's uncomfortable. I get to say the things that people are maybe wondering, things that people are maybe afraid to say. I get to go in the discomfort and be in that. And I just loved being in the space of energy. And so at that point, I'm like, whether or not I can do that at all, I don't know. But for my interest, for my joy, I'm going to follow it and keep doing more and more of the things that I enjoy. Um, and I think there's something that happens when you have a child. If you have the opportunity to have a child, that it unlocks something, another level in you energetically. I
Oh,
I have heard
yes.
from so many people that that seems to be when they've awakened, when things have opened up. And have
Yeah.
you have you heard the same thing? Have you felt the same thing?
I have like always been very aware
Mhm.
of the things in between. Like when I was like 8, 9, 10, like I could see things, but at some point it started to
Mhm.
scare me. So I was just like, okay, no, no, I just want to
Yeah.
be normal. No. And then
Mhm.
in my 20s, I started to remember that I did see stuff and that there was something. And since then, I'm like, breadcrumbs after breadcrumbs,
Breadcrumbs.
pulling this back in or opening that back up, pulling back the layers that I
Mhm.
put on myself. But I totally agree with you. When I had my daughter, it also opened something up. It opened me as the divine portal to life. And
Mm.
and that was so powerful. We always, as women, we know the theory of being pregnant. We know the theory of giving birth. We do birth preparation classes, and we do all of this, but we're not prepared to the transformation that happens inside of us.
Mhm.
That all of the sudden things that we put so much value on before, they're not worth it anymore. And we
Yeah.
see the world through a different lens. And so yes, I completely agree with you that as soon as you become a mother, and you don't even have to be a natural mother, you can also adopt
Mhm.
the moment that you have this love, this passion, this connection to this child, this soul that is coming onto this planet and chose you. Even when you adopt, that soul chose you to be
Yeah.
your mom, to be your parents. So, and that opens up this, yeah, this whole other realm, this magic. So you have
Yeah.
three. So
I have three.
I mean, I have two, so I experienced this double, like
Yeah.
cracking open twice, but three times? Like how enlightened are you?
Oh my gosh. I have a 7 and a 5 and a 3-year-old, and they constantly remind me of what I still don't know. So I don't know if it makes you more enlightened or more curious. But it's so funny. I think there's such a stage of like when you become a mother, you embody this, like you said, you embody this other level. And that is the opportunity to, when you embody the other level, to see what no longer serves you, and you really shed it. And I believe I've like said this forever. I think we all have puzzle pieces. So you have puzzle pieces, I do, each of our kids do. And so I like have puzzle pieces for my kids, and they have puzzle pieces for me. And so when they came into this life, I was able to receive those puzzle pieces, just like I get to continually give to them as they are giving to me. And that's why I think we can't be doing this alone. We can't be, we can only grow to a certain point if we're keeping ourselves in our box of comfort and isolation.
Mm,
Mhm.
yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I knew this conversation was going to be great. I did not know that it would go down this direction. So,
Nor I.
but it's so fascinating, because by becoming something, you become a mother. You don't you don't you don't become a mother by accident. Like
Mhm.
sometimes yes, sometimes the
It may
act,
look like that on the outside. It may
yes.
look like that on the outside, but there is a bigger plan that we may not be aware of.
Yes,
Mhm.
because you are ready to become something else. You are ready to outgrow the persona or the beliefs or the whatever it was. And so you were gifted this opportunity, to embody something new. So I'm curious, like, so you're a business owner.
Mhm.
You help you do incredible things. How has your way of approaching your gift changed with having kids?
You see, I had my kids before I was aware of all of my gifts.
Oh.
So I would say they gave me another dynamic. They gave
Mhm.
me another level of understanding that I may not have known before. And that's why I had thought like people had to be like born into having the gifts and things like that. And it's not that I didn't have these gifts when I was younger, but like you said, like we close it off or we make ourselves unaware and all of that. But the interesting thing, having the experience of being able to have my children, I realize, and I really carry it into my business, everything that I'm growing, like I'm birth my business. I birth
Mm.
business plans. I birth, like it's constantly we're birthing. And what that process looks like is we have the idea. So we have the conception, right? And then it takes some gestation. It takes some time to grow. It takes some time to build. And then at one point, we're like in the flow and things are growing and things are building. And then we get to one point where we're like, oh my gosh, can I take it back? Am I ready for this? All of the fears come up like, dear Lord, what is going to happen? Right? I remember
Yeah.
each of my pregnancy around 3 months, 3 or 4 months, I was like, it's too late. I can't go back. Oh God, I have to go through with this. Oh no. Just that thought of that day of giving birth, of it coming to fruition. And so it's the same as our fears, our blocks, our when we're building our business, it's all of that. We have that beautiful divine spark in the beginning and it flows and it grows. And then the fears come up and like we get to clear that. And it bursts through. And then we have this beautiful new life, whether it's the new life of your business, your vision, your child. It's really similar process. It's really beautiful that we're given such a structure to see so that when we're going through the fears, when we're going through the process of growth, it can be somewhat predictable.
Yes. Oh God. And I'm so glad that you picked this up because I remember that when I had my baby boy, he's 3 now,
Mhm.
and I I didn't want to, lay off my clients or anything. And I had like I had three one-on-one clients they were like, we don't care how long you take off, we just want to, continue working. And I was like, okay, fine. But then probably I have the baby on me or around me or something like that. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. And one of them, he was a tech CEO, and I had the baby like in a carrier here, like on me the whole time, and I was bouncing on my chair, and we were working together, and at some point he was just like, "Oh, you know what? This is something that I really envy of you ladies." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Well, giving birth. The
Mm,
experience of giving life to something."
mhm.
And that brings me to what you said, because I walked him through the process of how he birthed his company.
Love that.
And it was so magical. Like, you could really see this. You could really see all of the stages that you just described in his eyes when we walked through that. And I was like, male humans can
Mhm,
also birth something.
mhm.
It's not a life. It's not a it's not a living human, let's say it like that.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is an idea, and an idea also lives. An idea is passionate. An idea, there is fear in it. There's all those emotions around it. And oh,
Mhm.
getting goosebumps. And 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 he was like, wow. And after that, the way he approached his business and the way he approached his colleagues and teammates and everyone, he said, wow, everything changed just with the knowledge of, I birthed this. Like,
Mm.
I gave life, and I'm constantly nurturing this.
Yeah.
And one day he just came back and said, you know what? I feel like a big mama. Like, everybody came complaining today. Everybody complained today. And I was just sitting there, I was sitting there in my chair, and I was just there, compassionate, listening, and I felt good about it. I didn't get anything done, but it felt so good. And I was like,
Yeah,
well, you did a lot today. You held space.
yeah, yeah. Isn't
And
it
so, yeah, go.
it's like, isn't it funny when he switched to like seeing that he's birthing that, then he could see the preciousness and the sanctity to everything that he's doing. And that's a different energy from just doing things. Like, you're in creation.
Yeah.
You are that creation.
Yes. Yes. I love this so much. So, in the beginning, in your intro, you talked about, the blocks that we see, the blocks that we don't see. So, tell me, how do you work with your clients? Like, how do you walk them to or through their blocks?
Yeah, I love doing one-on-one with my clients right now because each person is so unique. Even though a lot of the cycles are predictable, like you said, when you have that spark and then the resistances come up and then you break through. Um, a lot of those are predictable, but it's really unique for each of us. And the interesting thing is, we have signs all over of what those blocks are. We leave like a trail everywhere, just waiting for ourselves to see it or somebody else to notice it and bring it to our attention that, like, this is what I'm ready to break through right now. And so, whether it's in having conversations and I, and it is an intuitive thing for me as well, obviously. And so I'm able to like see and pick up. I feel like I'm like a little clue finder. And I was like, oh, there's a piece, there's a piece, there's a piece. And it's the clues that like you're saying or that's coming through energetically, that you're ready to break through. Because it won't come up unless you're ready to break it through, unless you're ready to do what it takes to get to that next level. You're willing to go through the fear. You're willing to go through the triumphs, all of it, to be able to really receive it. And so I'm really a detective a little bit, but also a magnifier of what's already coming through for you. And I give them support as they're going through those processes and as different beliefs come up. And we have conversations like, hey, is that limiting? Is that expansive? Where is that coming from? so that they can begin to do that for themselves. They can be empowered to do that in all of their lives and in each of their conversations. Because as much as I love working with my clients and it lights me up each and every single day, I want them to be able to do this. I want them to get to a point where if they want, they can quit me and they can totally do it, or they can choose to stay with me. It's up to them. But I want them to have those skills because it gets to ripple out to other people and more people. And it's just so important that we're empowering as many people as we absolutely can. It's just so crucial.
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And what I wanted to ask you is if you could choose, you know, having your kids and maybe doing something else, or, doing what you do right now with your kids. Like, okay, I know this was really confused right now. I was like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't even make sense when I speak it. Like,
Well, good.
So my question is, you said you had your kids before your awakening.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you had your business then already, right?
In a different form. At that time, I was hairdressing.
Oh,
And it
okay.
completely, literally breadcrumb by breadcrumb. I never got the full vision that this is where I would be ever. I was only ever given like enough to see this far ahead that like, oh, now I get to help moms. Now I get to help women. Now I get to come out of the energetic closet. Like that is how I was being led. Because what happens is if I would have been given the vision of who I am now, someone who's like done energetic work in Egypt and Puerto Rico and does this with clients now. Like these things, like I would have shut down in fear of like, but how can I do that? When am I doing enough? Do I know enough? And it would have crippled me, paralyzed me, and shut me down where I probably would never have gotten to this place. And so that's why it can be so frustrating because we want to know the how and we want to know so far ahead. But when we get to that point, we can actually look back and say, hey, there was a reason we were only given what we were given. There was a reason we were giving piece to piece. It's because that's what you were ready to expand into. That was ready. And if I could have chosen to like have my kids first or like after, I would say I am so glad I didn't get that choice
Hmm.
because I don't think it was mine to make. I think I got exactly what was meant for me. And I really choose to be in that surrender of like just some things are none of our business.
Love
And I
that.
say that with so much love. And I say it to my clients like, the when, the how, that information is actually none of our business. Our business is this moment. It's really being in our present. Our business is like, what's our why? What's driving us? What's lighting us up? What is the vision? And really connecting to the heart of the vision, because like what do we want to feel then? What is the experiences that we want to have? And we get to bring that to our present, and that's like the rocket fuel. That is how things ignite. By embodying it in the present, that's how we can make that go faster. That's how we can bring it into our life so much quicker. So it's shifting how we do things completely, and some of the things are just out of our hands.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I I'm one of those people who is like, give me the big vision. I want to see the big vision.
Mm-hmm.
And I do get big visions. But
Mm-hmm.
I also see that part where I'm like, how do I get there? Like what, how, why?
Yep.
What? But then, coming back to the small steps and being like, okay, step by step by step,
What
waking
is
up.
required? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is required of me of this moment? And to be honest, before I needed the tiny, tiny, tiny visions. Now I can handle something bigger. I can see a little bit further ahead, and that's okay. But that's what I didn't have the capacity to receive in that way earlier on. And so keep in mind, like that's always shifting. And so I always like to tell people to update your Rolodex, like
Hmm.
to date myself. We have the Rolodex with all our business cards and things like that, or back in the day, we need to go through and update the information. Is that still relevant for us? Is that still a version of me I'm choosing to carry forward? Is that still a limit or a toleration that I have? Is this my new standards? And
Yeah.
so we get to constantly be updating because we're constantly meeting ourselves at new versions when we are in a place of transformation and going through blocks and really busting through our blocks, because when we bust through our blocks, our environment changes. It's so funny when I break through a block, it's never my intention, but all of a sudden my entire house looks different because I've, even in the physical sense of the furniture's moved, I've painted. I didn't intend to do all of this. And then all of a sudden one day there was the inspiration to like shift all of it. And I was like, oh, there must have been an energetic shift here that I wasn't aware of that's now also came in the physical.
Oh God, yes, absolutely. Like my office, like since moving into my office, like this space has transformed so many times. You know,
Yeah.
like when I look at old videos of mine, like not maybe even a year ago, it's
Mm-hmm.
like the background is completely different. And I
Mm-hmm.
look at it and I'm like, yeah, no, that doesn't feel aligned at all anymore. And this, oh wow, and this doesn't feel aligned. And this is
Mm-hmm.
so transforming your outer space. I have to come back to that thought because another one just popped up. I had a roommate when I was studying, and she created transformation from the outside in. Like she
Mm-hmm.
always changed her room. She was always redecorating. She not just her room, the kitchen, she was like everywhere. I was like, what's happening? And I was like, I don't feel, and she always said, I don't feel good. I need to change something. And I always thought, yeah, but it's you. You don't feel good. So
Yeah.
why are you changing our house? Like, I love this. Like, this is really works for me. Like, if she could, she would have probably gone into my room as well, just to redecorate
Mm-hmm.
and just create change. But like you said, the blocks that we go through, that's our inner work. That's the stuff that we
Mm-hmm.
do inside. And then our inside will be reflected by outside transformations. So
Yeah.
when women cut their hair, for God's sake, all men are like, "Oh, you're going through a divorce, you cut your hair." Yeah, we do that because we feel different. So we want to
Mm-hmm.
express ourselves differently. It's not the other
Yeah.
way around. It's not like I'm going to cut my hair. Oh, I think I need a divorce.
Yeah. Or like after you get married, like girls have these
Yeah.
long hair and then they get married and they cut. But a lot of times they should have done that before. Like they were ready for that change and they just wanted to make it to that date. And then they became the person they were already in the process of becoming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad you say that because this intuitive ping, this thing about I'm changing. I'm already that person.
Mm-hmm.
The more you get a feel for that, the more you get a feel for those transitions, the easier it is to step into that new persona, into this new
Yeah.
version, the higher version of yourself. I I did 3 years ago, I remember that. A coach walked me through, meeting my higher self. And
Mm.
and that was like for me that was like, "Oh my God. Wow. She looks like this and this and this and this and that." And then when I explained that, the coach looked at me and was like, "Well, you look like that." And I didn't see myself as that.
Mm-hmm.
But she saw it and she was like, "Wow, no, you look like that. Like everything that you're describing, I'm looking at right now."
Mm-hmm.
And because I was already changing, but my brain hasn't caught up to that yet. And
Your awareness.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so when I guide my clients to their higher self and connecting to their higher self now, it's like they come back with this, "Oh my God, this is so amazing." And I'm like, "Okay, do you feel that? Do you feel that in you now?" And they're like, "Yes." And I feel so light and I feel there's so much weight, gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the most incredible thing, there was this lady, she was already 69 or something. And I think it was a month after that, she came back to me and she was like, "Bea, I lost 10 pounds." I'm like, "You did what?" She's like, yeah, I lost 10 pounds. And I'm like, oh, great. Are you working with a new instructor or are you, what's up? And she's like, no, I think I ate more than I did, before, but I actually lost 10 pounds. And I was like, okay, great. Congratulations. Like I did not credit that to myself or anything, so I was
Mhm.
really, I was curious, but also, and she was like, well, since, since I met my higher self, I've shed so much. And I think it's also I shed the weight. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
I had that experience after having each kid, because the pregnancy weight and the first two, after having the first two, I was so hard on myself. I was like, oh my gosh, you should be thinner by now. You should be back to your body, like all this extra weight in the middle, like what is happening? Um, and then the third time, I'm like, no, I am not going to tolerate talking to myself that way and treating myself that way. I
Mm.
just went through this amazing experience. And if my body doesn't reflect that just yet, or doesn't look the way that I want it to just yet, that's okay. We're going to love it every step of the way. And so what happened every time I would look in the mirror, I would be like, oh my gosh, like you are so strong. You did this. Like, how incredible, how wonderful and magical that this was your experience. And this is what you look like right now. I had to do nothing to lose the weight after that pregnancy. It fell off with so much ease. Where the other pregnancies, I was doing these workouts and I was like trying really hard and I was pushing. And I was also saying, like, hey, you should be even a little bit thinner, a little bit thinner. You should be working. Like, there was negative patterns, there's negative beliefs. And like, they're learned, they're totally learned. And because I'm aware of that, it's my responsibility to choose something different. And I'm so grateful that I had the third pregnancy to be able to experience something different and see just the
Mm.
difference that it made. Um, and it fell off with ease. Like, it wasn't something I had to do effort in. What I had to do effort in is really just loving and appreciating myself in the process and what it was, and holding space. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm glad, I keep saying that, but I'm glad that you said that. Because like last year, I like after the summer, I went through a really, really rough time and I put on some weight.
Mhm.
And for a while, I was really hard on myself because after the pregnancies, for me, the weight just came off because I just, like you said, I loved myself because of the experience, because of, being
Mm,
this divine channel and being all of that. And then last year, I put on that weight and at first I didn't realize I did. And when I realized I was being hard on myself because I was like, that in the past it used to be so easy. It just came off. Why is it not
mhm,
coming off? It's just there. And it's getting more and more and more. And at some point, I was done. I was done trash talking myself. I was
mhm,
like, okay, no, I'm just, and I know that there was something, there was a lot of sorrow, there were a lot of, doubts, there was a lot of stuff just hanging on to me. And every morning I go for a walk with my dog in the forest, and I just love the forest. So
mhm,
every morning after that day, I was like, okay, I'm just going to walk in the forest. I'm going to just release. I'm going to release all the doubts. I'm going to release all the sorrows. I'm going to release all that negative self-talk, everything that's weighing me down right now, mentally, psychologically,
mhm,
metaphorically, whatever, I'm just going to release that because I have control over that. I
mhm.
have control if this is bothering me. I have control over how this affects me. And with ease, the weight just came off. It just fell
Yeah.
off. And that, is again such a beautiful thing that our body is giving us signals. Our body is giving us clues and is, talking to us and
Yeah.
showing us, hey, there is something that you need to take care of. And it's not me. It's the other thing.
Yeah, it's like we're manifesting and creating our reality. Our reality is really just a reflection of our energy, our inner beliefs, our thoughts, our all of the things. And so what you focus on grows. So I kept focusing on the weight that I hadn't lost yet. So for sure it was there and the weight kept growing. But when you shift things into like for weight loss, for example, if you focus on having more energy so you can play with your children, that's why it's so important to get to your why, because it's your motivator. That's what you manifest more. And you get to recognize it in the present when you're experiencing it in the form of gratitude.
Mm.
And so gratitude is like just calling in more and more and more of what you're focusing on so that can grow.
Well, I'm very, very grateful for this conversation with you right now. Like I love where it went. I love how we went from this to this to this to this, but it all is coming full circle because I would love to know, what would you tell your 17-year-old self if, you could give that girl some advice?
You don't have to fix anything. There's nothing wrong with you, and you don't need to know what's coming. Just one step at a time, be in the surrender and trust it'll be even better than you could imagine for yourself.
Mm. Oh God. Yes. Trusting.
Mm,
Trust. Having this basic trust that everything works out
yeah.
and better.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I tell my kids, and they'll say this like, this or better, mom, this or better, and they'll use that if they want to eat out or something, like, this would be really good, mom, or better. And I was like, you're using this stuff on me, come on, kids, my soft spot.
Yeah, they just know. They just know. Like my kids also use my kind of talk sometimes, against me when they're like, you know what, mommy, I manifested something. I'm like, oh, really? What? And then of course it's candy, and of course it's that, and of course that. And I'm like, nah, come on.
They can be manifesting something different than you, and then you manifested extra veggies on their plate at supper. It's magical. Balance.
I manifested healthy teeth.
Yes, yes.
No matter what they eat. We're good.
It's all taken care of. It's all in the balance. We just get to let go sometimes.
Yes, absolutely. So, Jeanine, when people want to connect with you, where can they find you, and what's happening for you in the next
The
time?
next while. You
Yeah.
can always connect with me at my website, JeanineHauck.com, JeANINE. Hauck is HAUCK.com, or on Instagram at Jeanine.Hauck. I keep it all simple, all clear. I've also included a free gift for this conversation because I got in September so clearly that 2025 is the year of joy. And I will say, by tapping into that each and every day, things have amplified in big, big ways. And that is the word of the year for the collective, not just me. This is for the collective. We get to be experiencing joy. We get to be calling more joy into our lives, and we get to see where we're in resistance to having and experiencing joy. And so I also wanted to include a gift where it's a frequency of joy challenge. So it's a little silly, it's a little playful. Each day, I will give you a different prompt that you can do to be silly, to be in that playful, to be in joy, and really reawaken and tap back into those frequencies. It could be splashing, might be the prompt. You need to go outside and find a puddle and splash. For you in Canada or frozen weathers like this, we can go to the pool. We can find other things. Or there are prompts like whittling, or there's prompts like pancake art. Like, they are, I'm going to warn you, they're completely silly. They may have you questioning, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? And that is exactly the purpose, to be just absurd enough to shake you out of your old patterns and your old beliefs. So I wanted to include that because we get to amplify so much joy for everyone this year, and it impacts us all just by individually, each of us feeling more joy.
Mm. And this is so beautiful, especially at the beginning of the year. As I am coming out of hibernation right now, like my energy levels are coming back up. So creating more joy, this is like the perfect start for my new year. So everyone, the link is in the description, in the podcast description, or in the YouTube description. And there you will also find all of Jeanine's links, how to connect with her. So Thank you so much for coming on.
It has just been such an honor. Like the entire conversation, I've just had chills after chills. I didn't know where this conversation was going. I didn't know what was going to come through, but I always know it's just perfect. It's always perfect. So thank you so much, so much.
Thank you. And that's it. That's it for today. That's our show. Thank you so much for staying with us until the end. And don't forget to grab Jeanine's gift and connect with her. Give her some love. And if you have any questions or suggestions, then please feel free and reach out. team@movingriver.com. Just notice we have a new email address, team@movingriver.com. You can also find our new website, movingriver.com. I'm so excited about it. There's so much new cool stuff and free stuff for you to explore. And if you want to be a guest on this show, there's also a podcast form that you can fill out and we will review your application. So, and if I could make a wish right now, then I would just really love if you could rate this show with 5 stars and just give us a cool review. That would mean the absolute world to me. I read every review. I read every comment personally. So thank you so much for supporting us. This is almost the end of the 2nd season now. So thank you so much. We have more than 100K downloads so far. I think we're at 120 right now. So this is just so freaking incredible. Thank you so much. And until next time, keep shining, keep learning, keep growing, and keep glowing. Ba-bish.